Loyal Moves checking in. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. I got some real today. He's so lonely. All that shit. You about to break life down for y'all motherfuckers, right? Hold on, let me take this out right here. Let me take that out. All right. So let's get it going. Let's get it on. Damn, every time I try to bring them down, I can't do it. There's my shit. Now, what was that dude? Oh, I know, man. I know. Man, confirm. All right, I'm here. Hold on, let me get everything up and going. I'm here with y'all. I'm here. They be like, oh, Mr. Lonely, nigga, I'm never lonely, bitch. Oh, fuck wrong with y'all? That's why motherfuckers be mad. I mean, nigga, I'm never lonely. Nigga, I could be by myself. Uh, what the fuck? You lonely. The extra bitch. Like, nigga, he would never be lonely. Ask your bitch about me. But anyway, yeah. That would be lonely, man. They be tripping. Assumption ass niggas. Mr. Lund. That's how they always be wrong and crashing in the world. You get what I'm saying? Because they assume what they think is right. Motherfuckers. Motherfucker tell them, hey, the man around the corner, they'll believe anything the motherfucker tell them, motherfuckers. Anything. Bruh, never lonely. Believe the hype nigga. That's the lonely motherfucker. The nigga that's hyping this shit. Like, oh, hey, believe this. Believe no, man. Stop assuming. That's how people get killed, bruh. People be sending niggas on dummy missions, man. Yeah, you can get them. Go ahead. I mean, on dummy mission, go ahead. You can get them. Then the nigga snap the nigga in pieces. Spit the nigga out. You be sending niggas on dummy missions and shit. You can beat him. He's a bitch. Hey, man. I be sending these niggas on complete stupid missions and shit. Hey, yo, I swear to God. And then people, the dummy is the one that listen to the other dummy nigga. The dummy nigga that listen to the other dummy nigga, because the other dummy nigga is swearing that they this, that, this, and that, and this, and that. But this nigga is fucked up. That's how it go. Send people on dummy missions and then they life fucked up. And then, you get what I'm saying? That's what people do. The other nigga, he take in consideration that whatever the other motherfucker say is true and just go on the dummy mission. And then when he go on a dummy mission, now his life just completely fucked up. You see how that work? That's crazy. Nigga, your life fucked up, my life fucked up, so I'm gonna fuck your life up too. Hey, niggas crazy out here, nigga. My life fucked up, so I'm mad at you. I'm mad at him. I'm mad at everybody. I'm mad at everybody. And send people on dummy missions and shit. Just do stupid, ignorant shit, dumbass shit. Just send them on dummy missions, so their life can be completely fucked up and shit. Don't even give them no guidance when they go and none of that. Just hey, look, I need you to do this for me, right? You can do it. It's easy. It's easy. Go over there and do this. Nigga, get over there and fuck the whole mission up and be gone. He gone. His life fucked up now. Either way, he dead or he in jail. You get what I'm saying? He dead or in jail. So now his life fucked up. He not able to do what he got to do in life because he done went off and did a dummy mission for a motherfucker. Hey man, people are crazy. You go off and do a dummy mission for somebody and fuck your whole life up. Now you can't do this, you can't do that. You can't do nothing in life no more. You can't even see your kids in life no more. You can't do shit. You part of the piece of shit, like the piece of shit. Like you can't do shit. You part of the piece of shit. And you let somebody encourage you to do dumb shit. A motherfucker who don't even got their own brain to just go out and do this for me, shorty. I need you to take this down the street. What was in the bag? I don't need to know all that. Just take it down the street. I'll pay you real good. For real? Yeah. Now, when you get this down the street and come back and you make it back, then I'll tell you what's in the bag. Hey, what the fuck? You gonna tell a man what's in the bag after they come back? They could arrest their whole, you know what I'm saying? Well, I got it down there safely. All right, here go your pay. Now he boosting them. He boosting them now. He boosting them. Where you go your pay? It's just normalcy of what people be doing, man. You using another motherfucker, just using a motherfucker, using kids and shit, youngins and all that type of shit to get ahead, making your moves, dummy ass moves. And these kids is down to do it and don't even think about what they're doing. Then you giving them drugs, drugging them up, so now they can't think no more. They can't even think. You're drugging them up, man. They can't even think no more. So make dummy moves, drugged up type shit. You gotta look at it for what it is, man. You got people out here, man. They so loyal. Be lying. You so loyal. Don't even know what the fuck it is. I'm loyal because I did that. No, nigga, that don't mean you loyal, motherfucker, because you did that, motherfucker. People just think they loyal for a job. I'm loyal because I stayed overnight. I'm loyal because I showed up. Nigga, it take a lot to be loyal, motherfucker. It don't just take one occasion. It don't take two occasions. Man, it might take you about 20 years, man. That's an anniversary. Strike one, strike two, strike three. But let's get it started. It's Loyal Moves. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the likes, follow the channel, man. Follow, man. I just be, you know, calling calling a horse, a cow, a cat. That's all. A dog. That's all. All that other shit y'all be trying to play. If you don't know me, man, stop it, man. You don't know me, man. If you don't know me, stop the bullshit. You don't know. If you don't know a motherfucker, stop it. Stop it. Stop lying like you know a motherfucker. Stop acting like you know a motherfucker. If you don't know a motherfucker, stop. That's why the man, that's why, what was it? What's his name? The baby was bopping niggas. Was it bop bop? I mean, we fucking had a song called the Bop, didn't we? But bopping niggas. And I call Bob, he was shooting the shit out of niggas, just approaching them like they know a motherfucker. People doing that. You're getting hurt. You don't know people. Stop acting like what you heard from other sources add up to what's going to happen. Next. Stop. Stop doing it. I'm just giving an alert. It's an alert to minds. Because people always think, man, assumption of this, assumption of that, man. What I hear is true. What I see is true. Everything is true. What I hear out here until somebody get hurt and it become untrue. That's basically what it be. Till somebody get hurt. Oh, I thought he was a punk ass nigga because I thought this, I thought that. And then nigga get hurt. You know what I'm saying? Assumption. The motherfucker get blown up, shot in the head. Hey man, somebody said, well, he think this is Grand Theft Auto. I'ma treat this shit like Grand Theft Auto. You get the, never mind, man. Hey, stop. Stop, people, stop, man. Assuming everybody just sweet out there. Everybody ain't sweet out there, man, and everybody ain't gonna just let you fuck over them, because they gonna do the fuck overing. And you gonna be looking stupid. Because you think everybody gonna just let them fuck over them until they had enough. And the motherfucker snap. And then you like, oh shit, he snapped. Why did he snap? Because the motherfucker had enough. So you gotta stop it. Like, people be thinking breaking. I'm sorry about that. They don't, man, look, I get the preaching and my whole shit cut off. Like my phone died. But I got my charge on. Man, you speak the real, man. You preach the real. They will kill. They will kill. You speak the real, they will kill. So let's get in it, man. Loyal Moves, man. Back at it, man. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, hit them likes, man. Let's get this up. To all y'all motherfuckers to think, oh, oh, Mr. Lonely, man. I do this for fun. Sorry, the thing went out. I do this for fun, man. It's not no job or nothing. This is fun. It is. Cause people be funny as a motherfucker, man. Y'all pay attention to them. You do this shit for real. And if you tell for real, man, they will kill. That's some real shit. I got to talking about that, man. They got mad at me, man. They, oh, he's at it again. I'm at it again. Yes, I am, man. I'm at it again. God, man, they get mad at me. Let me get my thing started over here, y'all. Let me get that started. Loyal Moves. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. All that, like I said earlier. He's lonely. No shit, man. Look, when I was young, I had everything. When I was old, I had everything. As my little cousins, but this motherfucker had a whole aquarium in his house. Yeah, I was good. Yeah, but you better know. People got mad at me. They was like, man, stay in the house. Stay in the house. Stay in the house. Got mad at me, man. They told me to stay in the house. Let me see what the fuck going on over here right quick. Told me stay in the house. Stay in the house. Leave it alone. Don't talk about it. Shut up. Oh, fuck no. They don't make no goddamn sense. Don't make no sense. You got people out here believing shit and then tell them anything and they get to looking into the shit like, oh shit, what is they talking about? Nothing to see here. Yeah. It was God. He was standing on a hill right there, but you didn't see that. You didn't see that. Hey, America crazy. They show you some shit, then they try to make it disappear. How you thinking you went crazy? Like, I know I just seen that shit right there, man. I know I just seen that. And then make it disappear. That's their favorite stance. Making shit disappear. You know what I'm saying? New York State Police provide an update investigation on the death of a 9-year-old girl. See what I mean? Like this is real news. That's real news. You know what I'm saying? This is what people look. Donald Trump make call all out war announcement. This motherfucker. But this nigga always fucking up. Let me shut up. All out war. He just makes. I'm not even gonna go in it because it's gonna make me mad and listen to him talking about this shit, man. Fuck it, I'm gonna do it. Let's do it. It's gonna make me mad, man.
They wouldn't have had the problem with Ukraine. Russia would have never attacked Ukraine. But you ask a very good question. The G8 it used to be the G8, and then these people threw them out. And I was arguing with Trudeau and with it was the G7, as you know. They had already been terminated. I think it would have been very helpful, and it still would be helpful to have Russia be a part of that mix. And I think if they were, I don't think you would have had the problem that you have right now.
Russia is not a part of the G20.
I'm trying to tell this nigga Russia is not G20. They trying to let him know Russia is not part of the G20. He crazy. Is a motherfucker. Hold on. Let's see what he's talking about.
The whole thing. Then they took a big chunk of land and people, as you know, during Bush. And now they're trying to take the whole thing during Biden. You know, the only one that didn't give them anything is Trump. They never took anything with Trump. Nothing, not 2 inches of property of land. But Crimea was Obama. And then Bush gave him a lot, you remember. And then, in fact, it's a sort of a standard little phrase. And Biden's giving them everything because this is a war that shouldn't have been had. And the only one that didn't give him anything is Trump. It's just the way it is.
What happened from Wall Street about these tariffs? There's been some nervousness on Wall Street about
this nigga. He always ain't nobody did nothing to me. I'm the one that did it all. I built the wall. I built my face. I built life. I am God.
I don't think so. I mean, there hasn't been very much. And I think it's going to make the United States stronger. And in many ways, it could make other countries stronger, too. You know, other countries want to have a strong United States. They want to have a strong America. And I think it's going to make us very, very strong.
It's going to make us very, very rich. It's going to make us very, very rich. In all words, I just don't want to say that, but I'll be stealing from your pockets.
Strong, much stronger. And we have a lot of work we're doing on the military. Our military already have authorized some contracts to be built that are very substantial. We're building the greatest equipment.
I did that. I'm trying to get more guns out there for you motherfuckers to kill each other. Put more money in my pocket. I don't give a fuck how many guns get out there. It's just, we need more guns out there. I gotta help my military out. I'm the one that put the blueprint that made the military for real. Y'all just didn't know that. That nigga crazy. He did every motherfucking thing, boy.
We have the greatest military.
He gonna say,
I say,
we got the greatest military now, like ever before. That's my nigga favorite words. we got the we got the greatest now like ever before.
This to Putin, to President Xi. I say to everybody, never bothered me. You know, I'm willing to say I'll go first. It doesn't matter. It's the end result that counts.
I get shot first, you know. I'm willing to do that. As long as I got my Hollywood people with the fake blood and shit in the background, I'll go first. I'll do it.
So it doesn't make any difference.
When do you want to have a conversation about global defense spending, you, China?
Well, I'd like to have that as soon as things settle down. I'm going to have that conference primarily with China and Russia because those are the two that really are out there. And we're going to have them spend a lot less money, and we're going to spend a lot less money. And I know they're going to do it. They agreed to it. We were talking about denuclearizing, and President Putin and I.
They do look like a salesman sitting at the desk right now, about to sell cars and shit. He about to sell everything. You get to selling people pretty soon. You're like, hey, fuck it. How much I can get for a person? How much you can get for a person, ass nigga? How much you can get for a person? This nigga is how much you can get for a person, ass nigga, y'all. And Sign say, well, you can't be saying that. I can't. How much you can get for a person? Like, if any means necessary. Who knows? Somebody who probably wrote greatest speeches and he don't even know what the fuck they wrote on that motherfucker. He get to talking and reading off of the motherfucking paper and don't know what they wrote. Whoever wrote that should just mess up one time and say some crazy shit on you. See if he read that shit out, like write some crazy shit on you. He supposed to be saying something. And it's supposed to be his words, right? So he's saying this shit. And they just write some crazy shit on there. They probably get him every time, man.
I agreed that we were going to do it in a very big way. I've had a good relationship with President Putin. I've had a good relationship with President Xi. It's about people. And I think when things straighten out, which I hope will be in a not too distant future, the meeting I want to have first is a meeting with China and a meeting with Russia on slowing down, stopping, and reducing nuclear weapons in particular, and also on not having to spend the kind of money we're all spending on weapons, military weapons generally.
I think my question is, would you have a meeting?
He trying to make guns lower. He trying to lower the prices of weapons. Let's lower the price of weapons. So, you know, everything else go up, but lower the price of weapons. That's kind of crazy. Everything else go up, but lower the price of weapons, military weapons. Everything else go up, but lower the price of military weapons. It's a motherfucker that sound like he just want war. God damn, shit. It's fine. Lower the price of the military, but nigga, an egg go up $10 each. Shit. What the fuck? Milk. Kids need it. Shit, make that $100 a gallon. Oh shit. But you can get a weapon. You can get a gun. Nice 9mm for $20. God dang. Yeah, fuck. You doing crazy work out here, Trump. My man trying to lower the price of guns, but eggs high as a motherfucker, bread high as a motherfucker. Kids can't eat. You don't want them to go to school. You're fucking up the school and then shit like that. You don't want them to do none of that shit. You got all these things going on, man. You got it all. You got it all planned out. Let's listen to him, man.
Separately with each of those leaders?
We won't trade with them, and if any trading gets through, it'll be 100% tariff at least.
On your
What would
cabinet,
be, you know what, when they hear that, what do you think they're gonna do? They're gonna say, look what happened to BRICS. They didn't want to talk about it. They don't even want to admit that they were a member of BRICS. That's what's happened.
On your cabinet, sir, we saw Robert F. Kennedy Jr. get confirmed. He's going to come in here and be sworn in. Mitch McConnell has now voted against several of your nominees. He voted against RFK Jr. as the next health secretary, citing conspiracy theories. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I feel sorry for Mitch. And I was one of the people that he wanted to go to the end and he wanted to stay leader. He's not equipped mentally. He wasn't equipped 10 years ago mentally, in my opinion. He'd let the Republican Party go to hell. If I didn't come along, the Republican Party wouldn't even exist right now. Mitch McConnell never really had it. He had an ability to raise money because of his position as leader, which anybody could do. You could do it even. And that's saying a lot. But the fact is that he raised money and he gave a lot of money to senators. And so he had a little loyalty based on the fact that as leader, you could raise a lot of money. Senators would.
That's how a nigga do you. Right there. That's how a nigga do you. The nigga did something for Donald. Donald ass sitting there talking shit about him now. I'm like, yeah, man, he wasn't shit. And I was like, nigga got Donald up in there, backed him and all that shit. Then when he get mad at a nigga, fuck that nigga. It wasn't shit. He wasn't shit when he was born. Like when he came out the mother womb, he wasn't shit.
They call me and they say he wants to give me 25 million. Can I take it? I'd say, take the money. Take the money. But he engendered a certain amount of, I don't even call it loyalty. He, was able to get votes. But I was the one that got him to drop out of the leadership position, so he can't love me. But he's not voting against Bobby. He's voting against me, but that's all right. He endorsed me. Mitch, do you know that Mitch endorsed me, right?
Well, he did.
You think that was easy? What?
He had polio.
He endorsed you, but you sit here talking full shit about him. Nigga put their money on you and shit. I'd be mad too at that nigga. I put my money on this nigga sitting here talking shit about me, just, you know what I'm saying, playing games, man. You see how people is? Motherfucker put the money on you and shit, and nigga sitting here talking shit. I'm the man now, I'm in here. Fuck him. He had nothing to do with my success. I did it all myself.
I don't know anything about he had polio.
Are you doubting that he had polio?
I have no idea if he had polio. All I can tell you about him is that he shouldn't have been leader. He knows that. He voted against Bobby. He votes against almost everything now. He's a very bitter guy. And
it sounded like he wanted to say he's a very bitch ass guy. He's a very bitch.
We have a very strong party, and he's almost not even really a very powerful member. Let's say he's not a power. He's lost his power. And but traditionally, India is right at the top of the pack, pretty much. There are a couple of smaller countries that are actually more, but India is a very, they charge tremendous tariffs. I remember when Harley Davidson couldn't sell their motorbikes into India because of the fact that the tax was so high, the tariff was so high. And Harley was forced to build, I guess they built, I don't know, that was a while ago, but I think they built a factory in India in order to avoid paying the tariffs. And that's what people can do with us. They can build a factory here, a plant or whatever it might be here, and that includes the medical, that includes cars, that includes chips and semiconductors, that includes everything. If you build here, you have no tariffs whatsoever. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think our country is going to be flooded with jobs.
What should consumers expect?
Boy, when they get done with Trump ass, oh my God, they sitting back working now. They is working. It's sitting there. Let them chill. Let them chill. His legs swollen. He's gonna do this shit for 4 more fucking years, and we are gonna have him sit here. And he is going to be sitting here doing this shit for 4 more fucking years. And we're going to be putting a plan together while he's doing this. This is like Trump is, he's on parole right now. He really don't want to be here, but we just got him sitting here until we figure out what the fuck we going to do with him. That's basically what they just got that nigga sitting there until they want to figure out what the fuck they want to do with him. He just sitting and the office fucking shit up. Like, shit, they got me sitting here. I might as well fuck up this over here. Fake like I'm working over here. You know, shit. Because they're gonna put me to jail any motherfucking way after I get done. So I might as well just fuck up a whole bunch of shit. That's what I'm about to do. They're setting them up, promoting them. Motherfuckers like, well, why are they letting them do it? Because they letting them do it. They just adding on and adding on. So shit, he gonna be looking like Bill Cosby. People like, well, Bill, he's old. They trying to already hit. He's getting old and his health and all that shit. That's how you work a slave. That's some slave shit. They done slave Trump. They done turned them into basically a slave. Slave, and he doing all supposedly the work. You get what I'm saying? So they done slave. If he's so rich, why the fuck he living in an old ass White House? I wouldn't even want to become the president, and I'm that rich and live in no goddamn White House. Feel what I'm saying? I'll do all the background work. You get what I'm saying? I'll be giving money from the background, all that type of shit. But I wouldn't want to live my life just sitting in the White House. It's old as shit, rats cold as a motherfucker. You got a ghost running around that bitch. Why the fuck am I living in the White House? And I'm a motherfucking billionaire. Don't make sense. I get a paycheck too while I live here. The paycheck lower than what I make. So why would I want to live there? So it just seems like they just got that man on harshness shine, like just living in the White House, fucking shit up. That's what he doing. Living in that White House, tearing things down and shit. Like shit, they got me here. I might as well fuck shit up. They're gonna lock me up any motherfucker. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, cause I could just see Bill Cosby. People be like, oh well, why do you care so much? Cause they be doing some slick shit. But if you don't see the shit, you wouldn't understand it. If you don't pay attention to nothing in life, you wouldn't understand shit. So motherfucking Bill Cosby go to jail basically because Trump. He said, I don't like Trump. And if he become president, blah blah blah. Motherfucker Rosie O'Donnell was gonna be next, but she got the fuck out of Dodge. If a lady got that lady got the fuck out of Dodge, she packed her shit up and got the fuck up out of here. Gotta be something wrong with motherfucker. She packed her shit up and left the country overnight. tell, tell me if that ain't serious. That lady left the country overnight like fuck this. I gotta go. That's an eye opener to me, y'all. When a motherfucker just pack their shit and leave overnight, it's just something ain't right. Something ain't right. You know, it that don't look something ain't right. Motherfucker pack they shit and leave overnight. Where you live, you was raised here, you was born here too. So you packed your shit and moved to another country because a motherfucker became the president. It shouldn't even matter. You know what I mean? Like, is it that bad? You pack your shit and move to another country. That's Rosie O'Donnell. Packed their shit overnight and moved to another country. Got the fuck out. It eye opener. Oh shit. She was like, oh shit. She said soon she heard that he became the president, she got to packing her things and got the fuck out of here. He said he gonna make her name like strike her from coming back anyway. She already gone. She gone. She gone. She gone. She gone to you gone type shit. She about to work from there. Then I I don't like to talk about it, but you know what I'm saying. Hopefully, because the lady already said she's like, man, hold on, I'm gonna play it. She said, she Trump had a motherfucker at her door. 9 o'clock in the morning, waiting for her to jog. She was coming outside. Said, nah, she ain't said that, but she said some crazy shit about this nigga. Hold on. And that motherfucker had, are you scared for your life? Fuck yeah. Like, Rosie O'Donnell ran away. Remember that, y'all. Rosie got the hell out of Dodge. She wasn't playing that. She got out of here. Rosie O'Donnell, man. She said, fuck that. I'm not fucking with him. I'm gone. I should tell people something. If lady rolled out, she wasn't fucking with him. That's me sitting in bed. Yeah, that's me looking at Nicki Minaj sitting in bed. And she looking like the devil and shit. Yeah. Checking the whole thing out, you know. Let's see. That's me. That's me. That's me. Where is it at? Where is it at? We here for you. It should be on this one. Yeah, it should be on this one. I'm gonna take it back. Way back. Back into time. Let's see, where is that? Yeah. Christian Rock. Did she go to jail for that shit or something? Attacking that boy or something? That's what she went to jail for? Or something else? Man, I forgot it was so long ago. See, that shit was a long time ago. Tory Lanez. They stopped talking about Tory Lanez, but you ain't gonna read her. Trump classified document audio may be worse than you. Shit, this I just wonder you. Stormy Daniels, the poor star who could send Trump to jail.
Of the United States, subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit that notification button. Now let me say this, you talking about Trump. My bad, I gotta keep it loyal moves. Somebody was like, no, you gotta keep it loyal moves. So what do you think?
Leave Trump alone.
So I say, man, hey.
And then he leaned around and looked at my daughter and said,
everybody can laugh.
Ashamed of something
So,
to your mom.
what? You know what I'm saying? You took it as a joke, bro.
Absolutely.
You're innocent
rattled
until proven guilty.
Workout class.
That's what I said.
My hands are shaking.
You know what I'm saying? So even with Trump, I said, you're innocent until proven guilty. And if the facts shows that what she says she had and all this and that and this and that,
if you walked in the store right now, I would instantly.
But I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon and say, hey, Trump is guilty. You know what I'm saying? Because can't do that. They got to prove it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants Trump to be guilty. Everybody wants, you know, everybody to be guilty. But the thing is Trump really guilty up there? That's the thing. That's the thing about that. Now, I'm like, what? Hey, I could care less if Trump guilty or not guilty. Please don't be the president again. That's what they don't want to be the president again. But then, you know, you got the other side, they want him to be the president again. But there's some people from the other side say, fuck that. They say a lot of shit. They're like, no, we don't want Trump no more. He proved to us. So there's a lot of things with Trump. Yeah. So let's go into, I say, LOYALMOVES.
Yeah. what lawyer moves? Oh, yeah, you talking about lawyer moves, man.
You know what, Donald Trump, this is lawyer moves, what's going on?
Of the United
Hit
States
that subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit that notification button. Now let me say this, you talking about Trump. Now man, I gotta keep it lawyer moves. I was like, man, you gotta keep it lawyer moves.
No, because they get mad at me. I can't. They get mad at me. Oh, no. I gotta go to the real one. That ain't the real one. That ain't the real one. This nigga, he. It's great. Shit's real right there. The Joker. That was crazy too. Hold on. That was crazy.
Rest in peace to Takeoff. Is this a sacrifice? This lawyer moves, checking in. Trying to figure if this was a sacrifice. You see the Chucky doll. You know, the Chucky doll in there. And it's a situation of a rape situation. I wonder if this rape situation was a hard hit. This lawyer moves. And if you looked at this situation, it looked like they circled him, man. Yeah, it looked like they circled him, man, and tried to make it look like everybody ain't had nothing. This guy right here didn't have nothing to do with it, but they all was in it together. They circled him, man, with Quavo, but he's not even nowhere on the scene, so therefore they got him circled in. The Chucky doll, ever heard of them? They had a hidden gun in the inside. Yeah, hiding the gun on the inside. This lawyer moves, I'm checking them. Just a thought. Yeah, just a thought. We all have our opinions. Lawyer moves, make sure you subscribe to the channel, check it out.
Like guys and girls. Spread the word. I like guys and girls. Spread the word. I like guys and girls.
Right. Give me the last one that hurt you in half.
Okay,
I like that.
that's cool. They're cool. The last one that hurt me. Now you feel like you got better position on your bed. Hey, so what we doing though? I thought we were gonna do some intellectual. So what we had to think
Like real questions. I'm on this type of time.
I'm down for that too. I got on the stage after being in this room for 20 seconds, so I'm trying to read the room.
Yeah, we just recreated the room when you got in.
Oh, who y'all on before I got here?
You ain't got to create the room on your own platform. Because we ain't created. My bad, I said it again.
That challenge was fresh from jump.
I told you it was fresh before you scratched it. That's the way I talk. It's going up. I'm sorry. Hey, Julia. And I'll say guys and all that other stuff.
Julia, what did Joe do in culture? Like, what do you do? What's social? Like, I'm lost.
Why you keep saying, Bird, why you keep saying I did something to the culture?
I don't know, bro. He got a little vibe for you.
Got a little vibe.
Now y'all got a vibe for each other.
Got a vibe for each other.
Y'all figured it first.
Y'all figured that shit out first. Then we figure out.
Y'all figured y'all vibe out first. Cause I ain't even want to say the wrong things out because we gonna solve that. It's all good. I love you, nigga. No, I don't love you, but it's all good.
Okay, what the hell did I bumped into? Alright, let's get out of there. Let's get out of there, man. Should I go out of there? Oh. Nah.
Julia, what did Joe do in culture? Like, what do you do? What's social? Like, I'm lost.
Why you keep saying, Bird, why you keep saying I did something to the culture?
I don't know, bro. He got a little vibe for you. Now y'all got a vibe for each other. Y'all figured it first. Y'all figured y'all vibe out first. Cause I ain't even want to say the wrong things out because we gonna solve.
Wait, you been left on Baton Rouge? I ain't left on Baton Rouge. You think I'm left on Baton Rouge? Say again? You say I'm left on Baton Rouge? What's that? You say I'm left on Baton Rouge? Yeah. Do it look like I'm left on Baton Rouge? What's you say? Do it look like I'm left on Baton Rouge? Nah. I mean, I don't look at like about the group because ever since when you were in jail, even though you might see one or the other, y'all move as a collective.
Okay, we gotta wrap this up, yo.
I'm gonna have to shut them.
Close it.
Hey, listen, man. I wish I could talk to the Amigos longer, man. It's one of my favorite groups. I've been covering for so long. I'm glad they succeed, man.
Hey, man, you guys are nominated tonight. Have a good show.
Shit so tight, got him feeling like he's fucking on a version. I'm a pro. Now ain't calling my niggas just shut up. Talk about the pussy whole time. I'm curving his friends. He know that I like.
Okay, what the hell? Where am I at? That's Amber Rose. Let's see what this is. Okay. Used the damn butcher gun in a while. In a while. Oh man, I ain't used that. What was that story? Outside New York City, Trump Tower. Okay. No, I don't be. Hold on, let me see something. Uh,
attention, notably towards the midterm election to January 6th. We hear Republicans definitely in the Senate say this is not losing the general election. Democrats want to concentrate on our agenda. We want to concentrate on what we are massive red wave in 2024, not necessarily focus anytime the attention kind of towards back to January 6th there, but we hear it's very rare that we're seeing in the Senate say this is not what we want to concentrate on. We want to concentrate on our agenda. We want to concentrate on what we are going to run on in 2024, not necessarily of the Republican Party. But I do sense some frustration, especially among it's very rare that we're seeing the country a lot during the midterm election. Republican Party and I've traveled the country a lot ahead of the 2024 presidential election.
Evening from New York, I'm Chris Hayes. Donald Trump is desperate to get everyone to stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein and that so-called client list, even as he spent basically the entire day fielding questions about it, including if his own Attorney General Pam Bondi, who was reviewing all these materials, told him his name appeared on the list.
What did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the?
Oh no, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen, and I would say that these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden.
Why do you think your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story and so upset about how it's been handled? Why do you think that is?
Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. And the credible information's been given, but I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going.
This whole thing blew up last week when Bondi, who has been pretty outspoken about hyping the existence of Epstein tapes and a client list and bombshell revelations, after going on TV to talk about all that was coming, then turned around and said, it turns out nothing to see here. Some of Trump's most diehard supporters went somewhat predictably nuts, which led to the president sharing this rambling 400-word post, infamously beginning with, "What's going on with my boys," and in some cases, gals. He said MAGA should stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein, who never dies. But the Epstein files were written by the Dems to hurt Trump, including Obama got in there somehow. But they did not release them, which is a little tough to figure out how it was going to hurt Trump if they didn't release them. Then Trump asked about the JFK and Martin Luther King Jr. assassinations, as well as his big lie of a stolen 2020 election, which is, of course, nonsense, and then reiterates that no one cares about Jeffrey Epstein. Thank you for your attention to this matter. He was never a big factor in terms of life. You can imagine there was a full revolt in response to that post on Trump's own social media network. Some choice comments, each receiving thousands of likes, including, quote, "You promised us, sir. Putting your MAGA base down is not going to make this go away." Quote, "This statement breaks my heart, Mr. President." And quote, "This is going to cost you so many supporters, I being one of them. It appears you or a loved one was in on it and you want this to go away." It does not appear to be going away. Over the weekend, speakers at the conservative Turning Point USA conference practically had their torches and pitchforks out, demanding the Trump administration release the Epstein files.
I will not rest until we go full Jan 6 committee on the Jeffrey Epstein files.
Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of intel services, probably not American.
Who would you guys prefer, Bongino or Bondi?
Okay, 7,000 to 0.
They want Dan.
Release all the Epstein files, no matter the consequences.
How many of you are not satisfied with the results of the investigation?
I mean, even SNL comedian Rob Schneider is calling for the release of the Epstein files. But now, many of those same people are, you'll never guess, sheepishly falling right in line behind Donald Trump, who is demanding that they just stop talking about this whole boring Epstein thing that has nothing to do with it. According to one report, get this, Trump personally called Charlie Kirk, who co-founded and organized the entire conference, and then Kirk and others, I certainly softened their tone.
Plenty was said this last weekend at our event about Epstein. Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands.
I'm going to talk about the Epstein files, and I'm going to make the case that even though there are unanswered questions about Epstein, it is in fact time to move on.
Now, as conservative influencers were eating their own about Epstein, the president was stealing the show on the one-year anniversary on the day he almost lost his life. He made a triumphant appearance at a global sporting event.
I mean, what does the world come to when you cannot rely on the integrity of Charlie Kirk and Dinesh D'Souza? In fact, Fox, where Laura Ingraham was talking about that triumphant moment we're going to cover later, Fox is barely covering Epstein at all anymore. And when they do, it's to repeat Trump's spin.
He said that those files were made up by Comey and Obama, that Pam Bondi has been handling this very well, and whatever decision is made regarding the Epstein files is up to her. There was a real dust-up between Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. The president, Daddy, as Mark Ruta has dubbed him, stepped in and ended that feud the other day with a lengthy post on Truth Social.
Even FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino, who was apparently so upset, so worked up, so angry and distraught and ready to quit over the Epstein stuff, didn't come to work on Friday, is back at work like nothing happened. Again, there's basically two possible explanations, right? Why the right is falling in line, dropping the story. The first is there really isn't an Epstein file as the public understands it, some sort of like, black box with these names that's going to tell everyone who on the power elite were doing horrible things with underage girls. But the whole thing was ginned up as this absolutely deathlessly cynical exercise by a bunch of MAGA folks to throw red meat to the MAGA base and draw in the support from kind of anti-system voters, right? Skeptical institutions, low trust voters who are very into Epstein conspiracies. That's one possibility. Deathlessly cynical. There's nothing really there. They kind of knew that. The other possibility is that Donald Trump is, at the very least, a little worried about his potential inclusion in whatever Epstein files there might be. As we have documented exhaustively on this show and repeatedly during the campaign before that, Donald Trump's links to Jeffrey Epstein go back years. There's the video of the two men dancing together and leering at women at Mar-a-Lago. There's the magazine profile from 20 years ago where Trump says Epstein likes his women young. There's one of Epstein's accusers, the late Virginia Giuffre, saying she was recruited while working at Mar-a-Lago as a teenager. Then, of course, the guy who gave Epstein his sweetheart plea deal back in 2008, Alex Acosta, was chosen by Trump to serve in his first administration, which later became a scandal. Of course, there is also Epstein talking about his friend Donald Trump. This audio comes from writer Michael Wolff, who spoke to Epstein back in 2017, 2 years before his death. These recordings were published by the Daily Beast late last year, shortly before the election, in fact. Now, we should note, this audio has not been independently verified by ABC News. We don't know how it's been edited, the context particularly, but take a listen.
How do you know this?
So he tells everybody what they want to hear. And it's Trump. And I'm telling you that I know 4 or 5 people who have recently sued me.
Again, this is 2017, right? This is before the whole thing blew up again in Trump's face, and he was arrested again, and then he charged, and then he is said to have died by suicide in federal Department of Justice custody under William Barr and Donald Trump. In response to Daily Beast, Trump's teams called those recordings a false smear as well as election interference and accused Wolff of, quote, lying for attention. But we do know from that now infamous Fox News interview that Trump, in his own words, has been concerned about releasing the Epstein files.
So if you were president, would you declassify, you can answer yes or no to these. Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
He is concerned about the reputations of people involved and possibly named in the files and wants to protect them. That's his own. He says it's phony. I don't know.
A new poll from Gallup shows that Trump's immigration approval rating has dropped to just 35%. That number is only likely to get lower as Americans learn more about what Trump is doing to immigrants and immigrant communities. New reporting by the Washington Post finds that it is now nearly impossible for millions of immigrants to leave facilities like the Florida Everglades Detention Center, forcing them to stay in conditions like those described by the congressman, potentially for years. Washington Post with this stunning piece of reporting, quote, the Trump administration has declared that immigrants who arrived in the U.S. illegally are no longer eligible for a bond hearing as they fight deportation proceedings in court. In a July 8th memo, Todd Lyons, acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, told officers that such immigrants should be detained, quote, for the duration of their overall removal proceedings, which can take months or years. Immigration lawyers say the Trump administration is expanding a legal standard typically used to hold recent arrivals at the U.S.-Mexico border to a much broader group, including immigrants who have lived in the United States for decades. Many of them have U.S. citizen children, lawyers say, and probably have the legal grounds to defend themselves against deportation. This policy appears to be just the latest step by the Trump administration to consolidate power in the hands of ICE outside of the American court system. Washington Post adds this reporting, quote, in the past, immigrants residing in the U.S. interior generally have been allowed to request a bond hearing before an immigration judge. But Lyons wrote that the Trump administration determined that such immigrants, quote, may not be released from ICE custody. In rare exceptions, immigrants may be released on parole, but that decision will be up to an immigration officer, not a judge, he wrote. And this policy has already taken effect, with immigration lawyers reporting that their clients have been denied bond hearings in immigration courts across more than a dozen states since the memo was issued last week. That is where we start the hours of our favorite reporters and friends. Washington Post national investigative reporter, MSNBC contributor Carol Leonnig is here. She is bylined on all that great Washington Post reporting we read from. Also joining us, senior opinion writer and columnist for the Boston Globe, MSNBC political analyst Kim Atkins-Storr is here, and Princeton University professor, MSNBC political analyst Eddie Glott is here. Carol Leonnig, do me this favor and just take me through not just your reporting, but what it changes, because it feels like it changes something that has been standard practice, that has been, I hate to use the word norm because Trump made such a mockery of norms, but just talk about how this changes the lived reality for so many immigrant families and immigrant communities.
Nicole, you summed it up already pretty well, but I'll tell you without wanting to be breathless about it, this is a drastic overhaul of the way the U.S. government has handled immigrants coming into our country who might claim asylum, who might claim a reason why they're able to come into our country and live here. Now they're going to be detained indefinitely at taxpayer expense. And for most of the legal experts we spoke to, they're also going to be denied their due process rights to make their claim about why they should be allowed to stay here. You know, the Trump administration has, and Trump's allies have dismissed previous decades of policy as catch and release. You know, detain and release. And now they're just going to detain and detain. That's going to cost U.S. taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars, and it appears that this policy change comes right in the wake of the big, beautiful bill that provides billions of dollars for exactly this, the profit of private correction facility owners and operators to detain people. Secondly, you have all sorts of folks who are no longer going to be able to get out on a bond hearing, live in America until their real adjudication of their immigration status. It will make it, as far as I can see, much easier for the Trump administration to deport people without any stops from A to Z. It'll be, we detained them, we kept detaining them, and if we want to deport them, we may do that without any warning to anyone.
Carol, let me read from the report. Forcing them to remain in detention facilities, often in far-flung areas, such as an alligator-infested swamp in Florida or the Arizona desert, would make it more difficult to fight their cases because they'll be unable to work or easily communicate with family members and lawyers to prepare their cases. Quote, I think some courts are going to find that this doesn't give non-citizens sufficient due process. That's Paul Hunker, an immigration lawyer and former ICE chief counsel in the Dallas area. They could be held indefinitely until they're deported. How do you legally create a structure where people who've committed no crimes, it sounds like they're making space for anyone just in the immigration or asylum seeking process. How do you create a legal structure where you keep those people forever and then send them to a third country? How do you avoid judicial review?
It's the $64,000 or now $64 million question, Nicole. A lot of the way in which the Trump administration has proceeded as it seeks rather desperately to meet this 3,000 a day arrest and deportation goal of Stephen Miller's and Donald Trump's. A lot of the way that it's done that is sort of create a supra law. There is not any rooting in the current legal system for doing this. Remember, last year there was a report by the federal government and by the Department of Homeland Security responsible for all of this, saying that they didn't want to detain these individuals indefinitely. And there were 7.6 million people then on the docket seeking asylum or challenging their deportation or alleging that they should be allowed to stay in the country. Think about how large a group of people that is and how each of them have very different buckets of legal claims. It seems to strain credulity that we're going to have a consistent legal strategy. And if it mirrors what the Trump administration has done in its deportation of individuals that they said were the, quote, worst of the worst to an El Salvadoran prison, while a federal judge was ordering that their plane be returned and circle back to the United States, if it mirrors that, then this will be very much extrajudicial.
Kim, let me, there's a lot of new reporting. Let me get through the reporting. There's so much to say about this, Carolyn. It's whenever you think they've done the most audacious and inhumane thing, they do the next most audacious and inhumane thing. And maybe we should just stop there on that point. Kim, your thoughts?
Yeah, so what we're talking about the judiciary and what backstops there are to this kind of not only cruel and unusually cruel treatment, but also unlawful. I mean, the law provides, and the Supreme Court has even said, that people facing deportation must be given adequate notice and must have due process, the right, the opportunity to make their case as to why they shouldn't be deported or detained. And that clearly is not happening, in part because the same Supreme Court has consistently, right up through this week, when there is a challenge Trump policy and a lower court blocks it temporarily while the people who are challenging it can make their case, the Supreme Court swoops in and lifts that block and lifts that injunction. The Supreme Court made it more difficult, writ large, for lower court judges to even issue injunctions of broad applicability. So what the Supreme Court has been doing, telling the Trump administration and telling lower court judges, yeah, let him do what he wants, and then we'll figure out the legalities later. Problem is, the people who are in these awful detainment facilities that are being put up under short notices, and as it's described, looks more like a concentration camp or a gulag inside rather than an ICE detention facility where people should get their basic needs met. It's allowing that to happen, and the harm caused to these people, their families, their communities, the places where they work, will be irreparable by the time the courts, really only the Supreme Court, because they're really the only people left empowered to review this, that's how they made it themselves, gets involved. So this is basically, there is no legal backstop at this moment, not the way that it's been created. The Trump administration has been successful in amplifying its own and spreading its own power in the executive, while the judiciary and Congress has basically whittled away.
Eddie Glaude, Stephanie Cutter said this to me after the election. She was a senior advisor to Vice President Kamala Harris. And she said, at his rallies, he played videos and the press never really covered the videos. And that's fair. I never covered the videos, but they were videos of crimes committed by people in this country illegally. And they were, this macabre warm-up show. I don't even know how to describe it in the context of a Trump rally. But what Trump ran on was finding the people that carried out heinous crimes in this country who were also people in this country illegally. That is not what the Trump administration's mass deportation program is accomplishing. That's what Obama accomplished, to be fair and accurate, and that was controversial in its own right, in its own time. What Donald Trump is doing is ripping people out of communities, ripping people out of high schools, hunting people at baseball practice, ripping out people who have been here for decades, ripping people out of this country whose children are home alone, scared that their parents won't come home, and alienating the likes of Joe frickin' Rogan.
And just because folks like Charlie Kirk are now saying, hey, let this go, are true believers going to do it?
So this is a moment of sincere political urgency for Trump. Back in 2021, his lead pollster, Tony Fabrizio, did a survey of the Republican electorate and found that there were a full 10% of the Republican voters who said that they believed in QAnon conspiracy theories. So the political fallout potential here is very real. That's why the White House has, and President Trump himself, have been leaning on conservative influencers like Charlie Kirk. The fact that Dinesh D'Souza, who has fanned so many outrageous lies about the stolen election, about Obama's birth certificate, he's saying back off this. That really shows you that the influencers are falling in line. That doesn't mean, however,
that happen?
Well, it happens because a very angry president of the United States gets on the phone and yells at you. Or people from the White House really turn up the heat, which we know is exactly what's happening in this case. But that doesn't mean that the average voter, the MAGA moms and dads, are just going to forget and move on, because for years they were told, elect Trump, elect MAGA Republicans, and we won't lie to you. We will get to the bottom of all of these cover-ups that have disenfranchised you, that have put these powerful people in positions to abuse their authority and to do the most egregious, unimaginable things possible, like sexually abuse children. And now they're being told just to forget it and move on. I don't think it's that simple, but as President Trump has always done, he will find somebody else to blame for this. And already you're seeing Pam Bondi being thrown under the bus. Dan Bongino is making noise. I don't know that Trump is ready to fire anybody yet. That's, from what I'm told, he's very concerned about even getting somebody to replace Pam Bondi, confirmed through the Senate. So we'll just see what else happens in the next few weeks.
Well, he certainly has been very clear about his support for her so far. Ken, let me play for you what the president's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, said just yesterday.
There needs to be more transparency on this. And I think that will happen. I mean, look, I don't know what truly exists there, but I know that this is something that's important to the president as well. He hears all the noise and he hears all of the consternation out there. And I think he's going to want to set things right as well. So I believe that there will probably be more coming on this. And I believe anything that they are able to release that doesn't, damage any witnesses or anyone underage or anything like that, I believe they'll probably try to get out sooner rather than later because they hear it and they understand it. So hopefully we see that happen sooner than later.
Go help people customize and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Maybe where's the golf cart? There it is. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Looking at, babe?
Cars on cars.com.
What's wrong with this one?
I just got promoted, so I'm looking for something more. Ciao.
Ciao.
2 million cars for 2 million possibilities. Cars.com. Where to next?
Hey, open-faced sandwiches and avo toasts of the world. Are you seeing this? This is a Smucker's and Jif PB&J, the OG sandwich of all sandwiches. And it wants you to know that, yes, it does taste as delish as it looks. Make a PB&J with the OGs.
Slide to the left. Slide to the right.
Seal it with a slide.
All of this for $30. It's an app called Whatnot. Download it right now. You just search what you're looking for, and there's people who are live selling these things, and you are bidding. So let's see what I got. Look at the bottom of this. Initially $75, and I ended up getting this for $4. When I think this was free, people, $94. Got this for $4. $2. So cute. $2. This is all wrinkled up, but I got it for $1. Oh, I got this one for $7. Oh my God, it's heavy. Cute. You don't have to go to the estates, the stores, nothing. If you are a thrift shopper, this app is for you.
Sooner rather than later, there will be more coming, Ken, but is that, I don't know, at odds with what the FBI and DOJ said just last week?
It absolutely is, Chris. That's the problem. They took a hard look at this with an eye towards being as transparent as possible. And what the career Justice Department and FBI officials reviewing this concluded is there's nothing more they can release, because what's left is material that's been sealed by judges, so they don't have the authority to release it, or that identifies child victims or other kinds of victims of sex crimes, or that makes unsupported allegations against uncharged people, which is things that the Justice Department never releases. I mean, this is a secret criminal investigation that was a massive intrusion of privacy, and these files are kept secret for a reason. But it seems clear that the political mandate here is that they got to find a way to release something. They have to throw their base a bone here. They may appoint a special secret investigation to look again at this and find some way to do something to appease the base, because it's not working. There's breathtaking cynicism and opportunism, and I would say it's on both sides now. Those House Democrats, they know better. To suggest that some of these, files involving child sex victims should be released is just incredibly cynical. They're taking advantage of an opportunity here. We understand why they're doing it, but they're really playing with fire, Chris.
Yeah, Melanie, we really didn't see a lot of folks in Congress getting involved in this until last night, and that's when Democrats tried to force this disclosure of the Epstein files and failed. Is that the end of the story on Capitol Hill? Could there be more to come?
Well, none of Democrats having any say in the matter. As Ken was pointing out, they have been very eager to capitalize on this growing rift inside Trump's coalition, a rift that does exist among Republicans here on Capitol Hill. Now, I would say most Republicans didn't want to touch this issue with a 10-foot pole. Most of them were dodging the questions when we asked them here in the hallways, and that is because it puts them in a really uncomfortable position, having to take sides between either Donald Trump, the president, or the MAGA movement. Now, there were a handful of Republicans who did come out and say they completely support Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi for how she handled this case. But there are other Republicans who've said the American public deserves more transparency. Just take a listen to some of these reactions from Republicans.
Just folks back home are not asking me about the Epstein file. That is just not my focus. I did 2 telephone town halls last week, 5,000 candidates on both of them. This was not even brought up one time.
I think it's reasonable for the American people to ask who he sexed, trafficked these young women to, if anybody, besides himself. And if there were others involved, why they haven't been prosecuted.
Part of the problem with this issue, like so many issues, is that the longer it lingers, the greater the imagination gets, and sometimes it outpaces the reality, and that can become a big disappointment for a lot of people.
Now, there was an amendment that failed in a committee last night, but there was one Republican who crossed over with Democrats. That's Ralph Norman of South Carolina, a Freedom Caucus member. He voted with that amendment that would have forced the release of the Epstein files. And meanwhile, there are Democrats who are vowing to keep pushing ahead with this issue. Mark Veazey of Texas said he's going to introduce a resolution and try to introduce that on the floor in the coming days. So even as Trump and his allies try to turn the page on this whole saga, Democrats not going to let it go that easily, Chris.
Yeah, so Jeremy, while some big name conservatives seem to be moving on, you have people like Laura Loomer. She wants a special counsel appointed. Utah Republican Senator Mike Lee was suggesting that Epstein's former partner, Ghislaine Maxwell, maybe should come and testify. Obviously, whatever actually is in those files, there's a pending petition in front of the Supreme Court, which would definitely make a U.S. attorney not likely to want any of that out, which may be why Laura Trump said anything they are able to release that doesn't damage witnesses or anyone underage. But bottom line, I mean, is Kevin Cramer right that the longer this goes on, the more trouble it is? They've got to get this under control.
It's not going away. And this is what Trump and the Trump Republican Party get for fanning these flames of conspiracy theories for years when most of them knew better, right? This is what you're seeing right now with a lot. I would describe it as like, the MAGA grift machine devouring itself, because you have people like Candace Owens, Laura Loomer, Tucker Carlson, a lot opportunists, a lot of them who are using this as an opportunity to basically grow their own audience and tell their supporters what they want to hear, which is, no, this still has legs to it. We don't know the full story here. We'll never know the full story. And that's the thing about conspiracy theories. They continue to self-perpetuate regardless of what type of concrete proof you have out there. You could have a video affidavit from Jeffrey Epstein from the grave saying, I don't have a client list. Hillary Clinton was not involved. And it still wouldn't matter. They would say it's AI. That's what conspiracy theories are. They keep going.
By very definition. Okay, Yasmin, that brings me to you. And I want to play what the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, had to say about all of this on Monday.
The American people deserve to know the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as it relates to this whole sordid Jeffrey Epstein matter. Democrats didn't put the Jeffrey Epstein thing into the public domain. This was a conspiracy that Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, and these MAGA extremists have been fanning the flames of for the last several years. And now the chickens are coming home to roost.
So, Yasmin, we know how much MAGA voters care about this. Should it be a goal of Democrats? Should it be the goal of organizations like yours to make not just Democratic voters, but those middle of the road voters who swing elections care about this too?
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. Leader Jeffries is exactly right. And I think this is just yet another example of what Donald Trump and House Republicans do over and over, which is tell voters what they want to hear to get elected and then do something vastly different. We're here, of course, here talking about the Epstein files, but it's also, we saw last week the single largest Medicaid cut in history. What all these things have in common is that they lie to us. And you know what Republicans, Democrats, and independents have in common is they don't like being lied to. So the question before us is, what do we do about it as Democrats? And part of the challenge before us is we know that voters, whether Republican, Democratic, or independent, they're on our side, but they're not hearing us. We're not breaking through to them. And part of that is because we're talking to voters way too late. Our conversations with them are way too superficial and one directional. They're not about the things that they really, really care about. And that's why we've got to throw away the playbook, the old playbook, and we've got to start a radically different approach. And at Swing Left, we're working with House Democrats now on a new program called Ground Truth, which is our most ambitious effort ever to reach voters. And that's not just Democratic base voters, swing voters as well, Republican, independent, and squishy Democrats too, to make sure that starting now, over a year before the election, we are out knocking on doors and not skipping people just because they don't agree with us on everything, but really deeply listening, engaging, and trying to understand those ground truths of what do people care about and how do we make sure they know about the lies of the Republican Party that are directly going to impact their lives in materially harmful ways.
Welcome back. If it feels like the cost of things has been going up again lately, a new inflation report released just this morning confirms you are not wrong.
Largely viewed as the first real show of impact from President Trump's tariff agenda, the country's 12-month inflation rate is up for a second consecutive month, hitting 2.7%. Now, it's what economists had warned was coming, not necessarily the economic doomsday at this point, but new tariff threats could wreak more havoc in the coming months. So let's get more perspective on this. Joining us now, NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans and Jason Furman, former chair of the White House Council of Economic Advisors and a professor of economic policy at the Harvard Kennedy School. Great to have you guys both with us. How should we interpret today's report, Christine?
You know, inflation picked up just a little bit in June. It had picked up a little bit in May as well, at 2.7% inflation rate. So you have paychecks that are still growing faster than inflation, so that's good for sort of our pocketbooks and our family finances. But you start to see inflation picking up in the tariff categories. You look here, toys, furniture, appliances. We're even watching like sporting tickets and airfares. Those are down. That can be maybe because of consumer demand is down a little bit because of uncertainty. But this is just the very, very beginning. Economists have been telling me that they think that tariff effects, it'll take 3 months to start working through the supply chain. So you rewind 3 months, and we were back in April and May when the president first started putting these tariffs on.
Christine, you are somebody who's told me 2%. It's ingrained in my mind. 2% is the goal. And so we're at 2.7%. Jason, second month in a row, we've seen inflation tick up. If you're inside the White House on that economic team right now, how worried are you?
Look, when you're in the White House and inflation is picking up, usually it's because of something someone else is doing somewhere else in the world. Maybe there's instability in the Middle East, and that's driven oil prices down. Right now, you're sitting in the White House knowing that all of this inflation pickup is because of choices you made to raise the prices on toys, on appliances, on all these things that went up in price in June. And so I think you're wondering, what can I do to talk the president out of this?
And now it's tomatoes. That's the latest, Jason. The White House announcing a new 17% tariff on tomato imports from Mexico. It kind of seems like they're just constantly putting out a smattering of new tariffs, right? Or they're shifting the tariffs that had already been threatened out there. Some are blanket tariffs on countries. Some are targeting specific goods. What do you make of the strategy? What is the strategy? Why go after tomatoes?
Right. I mean, basically, at this point, we have tariffs on every country in the world except Russia, Belarus, and North Korea. Those are the three countries that have been spared from tariffs. Occasionally, maybe you say it makes sense. You have a really critical industry for national security. Maybe China doesn't play by the rules. But this is Mexico. They're a country we're close to. The tomato industry, not a strategic industry. Every American buys tomatoes. Every American is going to be paying more for those tomatoes because of this tariff.
Obviously, tomatoes are something grown here in the U.S., so I guess maybe this is a little bit of a high five he's throwing to farmers.
Right, but we have tariffs on bananas, on coffee, on tea, on mangoes. We make very, very little of any of those products in the United States. No one thinks we're going to have a banana and coffee industry here in the United States. So we get just the higher prices without really any benefit of it at all. And we're just seeing the beginning of those higher prices now. We're going to see more in the months to come.
And those tomato farmers might be in the United States might be happy about this because maybe the cheaper produced Mexican tomatoes, were a competition for them. But the president also in his strategy is deporting workers, right? So you could be in the situation in agriculture in particular where now you've got this help from a tariff for your product, but then you don't have the workers to help you harvest it.
That's a really good point. We also had this 30% tariff rate threatened against the EU. That could lead to higher prices when it comes to pasta and wine. Christine, does the White House not fear the impact on everyday Americans and that it's going to upset their own constituents, their voters?
This White House doesn't acknowledge that there will be an impact. They say that inflation will be muted, it will be contained, that it won't be passed on to the American consumer. But we've already seen, Wall Street Journal has seen the list of retaliation from the EU for August 1st, if all of this goes through, where you've got U.S. producers of bourbon and soybeans and all kinds of different things that could see big trade barriers put on by the European Union in retaliation. So then you've got consumers and you've got people who work in these industries or are invested in these industries who could suffer. So that's what we're really worried about, is that actual trade war where both sides start really lobbing these tariff missiles that can really be detrimental, I think, for the economy, for growth, for jobs, and for what people pay.
I want you guys to listen to what President Trump said yesterday in the Oval Office about any potential ongoing tariff negotiations with other countries. Take a look.
I watched the show this morning. They were talking about, well, when's he going to make the deals? The deals are already made. The letters are the deals. The deals are made. There are no deals to make.
So just a day earlier, Trump's Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett had said conversations were ongoing. He said the tariffs were only real if the president doesn't get the deals he wants. Christine, are negotiations happening or not?
I mean, they are happening, but you also heard Kevin Hassett, one of his advisors this week, say that they present the president with the progress they've made, and the president sometimes decides that that's just not good enough. And the letters are now the deals. And in some cases, these letters are back to where we were in April in terms of just slapping a tariff on a country. It is a complicated and stop and start situation. We've got a lot of deadlines and then pause deadlines. And I think one of the reasons why consumers certainly haven't probably felt it yet, the markets have seemed to be shrugging much of this off. But there is a feeling there's sort of a calm before the storm here if these big tariffs do go in and start to bite.
We're already starting to see that inflation tick up. So Jason, if these letters are meant to be leverage in any kind of negotiations, can you just kind of pull it all back on a dime if things work out? Does it work that way? Is it that easy?
I mean, you'll still do some damage even if you pull things back now because of all the uncertainty. Businesses did things like they imported enormous amounts of stuff to get in ahead of the tariffs. Now they're going to be buying less stuff. That's going to create some strange dynamics in the economy. But the other thing we should understand about these letters is it's like shooting yourself in the foot and simultaneously shooting the other person in the foot to gain leverage. And these countries are
Explain that. Why?
Because we're raising prices on ourselves. This isn't like we're just attacking them and, they're getting hurt and we're not. In a lot of these cases, we're the ones who are getting hurt from these tariffs. So other countries are looking at this. They're saying, how long will America really stick with this? By the way, other countries also have their own domestic politics. They can't just hand over tons of stuff to Donald Trump and then go back to their voters. In France, they believe France first. In Japan, they believe Japan first. The whole world doesn't believe in America first. So he's going to have a hard time getting deals. And we saw that with China, where he basically backed down because they threatened us. And it turned out they had a lot of tools in their arsenal to go after the United States that he hadn't counted on and planned for.
And now we hear the EU is planning to look elsewhere also for boosting trade in other ways with other countries. And so America may end up seeing those unintended consequences as well. Guys, thank you so much for the discussion. And there's always a new development, it feels, these days on the economic front here. Christine Rome and Jason Furman, good to see you both.
Yesterday, the conservative majority on the United States Supreme Court ruled that the Trump administration can, for now, move forward with its plans to dismantle the Department of Education, which, I know there is a lot of stuff going on. We've talked about a lot of it on the show, but that is a very, very big deal. That is going to hit a lot of people in this country very hard. For one, it's unclear whether Trump can even legally do that, so we'll say that. There's a case on that matter that is currently moving through the lower courts, and what the Supreme Court did was effectively step in and say, before you decide if that's legal, we're going to allow it for the time being. So there's that. If that wasn't concerning enough, this is the part that concerns me the most. The ones who will bear most of the brunt are our country's most vulnerable students, and we are just weeks away from kids going back to school in many parts of the country. Because despite what some conservatives might say, the Education Department does not dictate what curricula for schools. In fact, it does not set any curricula at all. The department primarily helps fund programs that support low-income students, as well as students with disabilities. And the 5 states that will be hit hardest by these cuts all happen to be states that Trump won. The Department of Education is also responsible for enforcing civil rights law and overseeing student loans and grants. And if the Trump administration does indeed fire nearly 1,400 staffers, which is the stated plan, many of those essential programs that people across the country rely on will likely collapse. The firings themselves are just one step towards Trump's stated goal for the Department of Education, which is to shut it down completely. And what might come of that is more inequality and a further divided, scattershot approach to education in this country. Joining me now is Peggy Flanagan. She began her career in government by serving on the City of Minneapolis Board of Education. I think she was the youngest person on the Board of Education before she even had kids, which is a cool detail. She's currently the Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota and is also running for the Senate seat being vacated by Senator Tina Smith. And I want to talk to you all about that. But you were coming in today, and with these Department of Education actions, I just wanted to ask you first about that. I mean, you've worked on education on a local level. As I mentioned, they do not set the curricula, but what could the impact of this be if it is followed through?
So I think it's the combined chaos of multiple things that are happening. The dismantling of the Department of Education, as you said, that's been established to protect students, the most vulnerable students, students with disabilities, students who need a little extra help. It's inhumane and it's cruel, and states are going to have to, pick up the slack, and we will do as much as we can, but we can't do it all. What I'd say, combined with the $6.8 billion that they have clawed back from grants that have already been committed in school districts, right? And school boards have already set their budgets for the year. This is after school programming, childcare, support for our English language learners. As a recovering school board member, but also as a mom of a middle schooler, this is straight up chaos for families who are already trying to plan the upcoming school year and what will happen in less than a month. We're already buying school supplies and planning for it. So I think what it really just demonstrates, the Trump administration, Secretary McMahon, the folks who are making these decisions, they don't care about us and real folks who are making decisions about their child's education every single day.
I keep thinking, and I'm sure you do, about the impact of this combined with the cuts to SNAP benefits. And all of that is going to, dramatically impact kids, right? Who are like in low income families. It's horrible. But how do you look at that? And Minnesota has a different, you have better protections than a lot of states, but how do you look at that in states where they're going to suffer the SNAP benefits cuts and also maybe these cuts to after school programs, all of these things that are preventing kids in lower income families from really moving forward?
As someone who grew up with a different colored lunch ticket on free and reduced price lunch, I can tell you that's one of the most important things that our administration has ever done, making sure that every kid gets fed at school, no questions asked. You don't have to ask, do you have enough money in your account, but would you like, chicken, or do you want pizza today? Mm-hmm. Those should be the only questions that we are asking our children as they're going through the lunch line. The impact of this combined with the SNAP cuts, we are literally taking food away from children. And if folk thinks, oh, I'm not on SNAP, this doesn't impact me. Well, it impacts farmers in our communities who grow that food that keeps food on the table. It impacts local economies. That difference of taking that food assistance away from folks, and let's be clear, people have an idea of who is someone who was on SNAP. Mm-hmm. It is children, it's families, mm-hmm. it's seniors in our communities. This is going to hit everybody. And I just think we do not have enough people working in Washington who have relied on SNAP to keep food on the table, Medicaid for their health, insurance. We need more folks who understand what it's like to grow up on the margins, to struggle, who are representing us here, because right now, these people are so out of touch, and this inhumane, big baloney bill that was just passed, we should be raising our voices in every single way that we can, pushing back and demanding more.
So let's talk about your Senate race, because you bring, you're somebody, you just mentioned part of your background. I think I knew, but I'm not sure I knew, and probably people watching didn't know. You would also be, and I know you're not running to make history, but there's never been a Native woman in the Senate, which is kind of wild. Tell me about what you're hearing from people as you're campaigning about their concerns about the big ugly bill, about their concerns about what they're not seeing in Washington that they want to see.
Absolutely. I think that folks are really clear what it is that they want. They want someone who's going to show up and work for them. For a long time, I think Democrats have been fighting to a draw or picking fights that we can win, instead of saying, what do our communities need and what should we be fighting for? What's that vision? I think Congress, lowering the price of 10 prescription drugs for folks on Medicare, that's great. And why not all of them? You know, $15 minimum wage should be the floor. Some dude sitting behind a desk at a health insurance company shouldn't be able to make the decision whether you live or die. Your doctor should decide. These are the things that people are asking for. And I think this is the big vision that we need. There are a lot of folks who, frankly, even in my own party, who are bought by corporations. I think it's real people who need representation right now. And, you know, that's why I'm running. As someone who grew up in a working class family, we need folks who understand what that's like representing us in Washington, D.C.
Well, I'm not saying you were referring to her. You are in a primary, so you have to run in a primary. And one of the people you're running against, Angie Craig, who's a congresswoman. What is the what should people understand? I'm sure you know each other. This is the thing about primaries, but what should people understand about the difference in your approaches and what they would be voting for if they support you over her?
Absolutely. Well, I've made a decision to not take corporate PAC money because I think, you know, corporations have plenty of representation here in Washington. It is everybody else who needs it. I've spent my entire career working on behalf of children and families and making sure that families have economic security. It's not just my occupation, it has been my vocation. You know, we have support from over 50 local and state elected officials all across the state of Minnesota, which I think speaks to the work that I've done for 20 years of my life in my career. And people need someone who understands what it's like to feel like the bottom could fall out at any moment. That's why I'm running. I'm running for families who will be impacted by these cuts to SNAP, who are going to worry about what this means if they don't have access to Medicaid. We need someone who's going to fight for all of us to make sure that we're not just scraping by, but that we have a real opportunity to thrive in Minnesota and all across this country. And that's what's missing in this moment. And I hope to be at the table making those decisions.
Do is save hundreds when Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance.
That's great, but can you ask your friend to stop digging into the green?
I can ask, but he's not going to. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Oh, Miss Chris, ain't big enough for the three of us. Looks like y'all got a case of the zoomies.
Reba.
Have y'all seen the real view maps on Realtor.com? You can easily compare homes by lot size. Who wants to find their dream house? Realtor.com.
With multiple breaking news developments on Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Late today, Donald Trump filing a libel suit against the Wall Street Journal over its new Epstein reporting. Also late today, Trump's DOJ filing a motion to unseal grand jury testimony about Epstein. Trump's new suit names Rupert Murdoch, the Journal's parent company, and the two reporters who broke that story. The Journal detailing a 2003 letter that Trump reportedly wrote to Epstein for his 50th birthday. The Journal describes the letter as, quote, bawdy. It contains several lines of typewritten text framed by the outline of a naked woman, which appears to be hand-drawn with a heavy marker. In the message, Trump reportedly imagines a conversation with Epstein. Quote, Donald, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, yes, we do, come to think of it. Donald, enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? And it ends with the line, Donald, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. Trump denies the story. Quote, this is not me. This is a fake thing. It's a fake Wall Street Journal story. I never wrote a picture in my life. I don't draw pictures of women. As for Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi, late today, she filed a motion to unseal grand jury transcripts, but the process could take weeks. And as the Post reports, even if released, the material would constitute only a fraction of the evidence and investigative material that the FBI amassed during its years-long investigation. Critics pointing out, it looks like Trump is trying to stall and dodge
rather than actually reveal critical information. Greg Sargent in the New Republic writing, quote, Trump's only way out of this is to seek full release of the Epstein files, but he won't, and he can't explain why he won't. The more he calls for meaningless releases that don't provide real transparency, the more he will stoke conspiracism, and the more he'll appear in on the elite cover-up. Trump today getting hit with more questions.
Mr. President, why not go further than just unveiling
Christy Greenberg, MSNBC legal analyst and former deputy chief of criminal division for the Southern District of New York, and Lisa Rubin, MSNBC legal correspondent, join us tonight here at the table. Thank you both for being here. Christy, I want to start with you in this lawsuit. Trump going after Rupert Murdoch, the reporters behind this story, filed in Florida in the district where a judge named Eileen Cannon just so happens to be. I'm curious what you think is going on here and if he really has a shot at being successful in going after this story.
Well, if he's before Judge Cannon, he's got a shot. But putting that aside, I mean, look, the Wall Street Journal knew this was going to happen. There had been communications days before this story broke where he was threatening to sue. So this can't be a surprise to anybody that he managed to follow through with it. Whether or not he has a leg to stand on, I think they wouldn't have published this story if they didn't feel very confident. And he has to show that they knew that this was false, that this was going to be defamatory. I believe it's a libel lawsuit. And they must feel like they are on very solid footing as to where they got this letter, what their sourcing was, and that they reported it accurately. So given all of that, I think he's unlikely to succeed unless he happens to get a good draw with good old Judge Cannon.
Lisa, is there any chance here that a lawsuit could actually backfire on Trump in this case?
It could. And the way that it would backfire on him, Antonia, is through the discovery process. Because as you know, if a case were to survive a motion to dismiss, then the parties begin to exchange information that helps them prove either their claims or their defenses. As the plaintiff in this lawsuit, Donald Trump would have to sit for a deposition. And as an observer of prior Trump litigation, including both of the E. Jean Carroll trials, I can tell you that where Donald Trump has an opportunity to defend himself, he is always his worst enemy. He literally buried himself in the E. Jean Carroll trial through his deposition there. That's where he mistook a picture of E. Jean for his then wife, Marla Maples. It's also where he doubled down on the Access Hollywood tape and said that he considered himself a star. In other words, yes, when he said that stars could do certain things, he was absolutely talking about himself and describing his own modus operandi. Those were things that two juries of his New York peers held against him in the E. Jean Carroll case. If his defamation case were to go that far, Donald Trump would have to sit for a deposition, exchange materials. But of course, Donald Trump is counting, Antonia, on it never going that far. Because in the two lawsuits that he's filed to date against other media organizations, he has extracted settlements from them well before those things could ever happen.
So you think his hope here is basically that the Wall Street Journal's parent company is like, we want this to go away and we'll pay for it to get out of our face?
Yes, I mean, I think the Wall Street Journal's parent companies will first try what I suggested, which is to move to dismiss on legal grounds, to say that whatever Donald Trump's complaint says against them doesn't even meet the legal framework for a defamation claim. Now, we haven't seen that complaint yet. It hasn't been filed. If your viewers or you have noticed me like typing away at my computer, it's because I'm trying to find that complaint as soon as it's publicly available. All we know is that a docket has been created, meaning a case has been created online, that he has sued 5 entities or individuals, and that the case is described online as being a defamation case. Beyond that, we don't even know who represents Donald Trump right now. On the docket, he's described as pro se, which is the legal term for someone who represents themselves. Clearly, Donald Trump is not representing himself in this case. So there's a lot we still have to learn about Donald Trump's defamation case against the Wall Street Journal, its reporters, and Rupert Murdoch. But by naming Murdoch himself as a defendant, I think that's sign number one that he's hoping for a settlement.
So a lot still to come there. But then, Christy, on this effort to unseal the grand jury testimony going through your former workplace,
Can you break that down for us? And how likely is it that those documents, all that testimony, will actually see the light of day?
It's unlikely that those grand jury transcripts will see the light of day. The reason why is grand jury proceedings are in secret. Those are the rules. You have to have a reason to be able to say why it shouldn't be secret. Some kind of law enforcement reason, an ongoing case. You're helping other kinds of law enforcement agencies, right? Here, the interest is public is interested, and the public could be interested in a lot of different cases. That's not alone enough to get a judge to unseal grand jury transcripts. So I don't think they will succeed here. Where they may succeed is getting some of the information that had already come out at trial, information that's already been public in other areas, or if certain people whose testimony is in those transcripts, if they would agree and not put up a fight to it. But I mean, the other thing to take a step back, even if any of this were to be public, this is grand jury testimony where the prosecutors went in and said, here's our evidence against Epstein, here's our evidence against Maxwell, not against Donald Trump. I would be shocked if you saw Donald Trump's name anywhere in these transcripts. Right. Remember, A.G. Barr was the attorney general at that point. Even listing Donald Trump as individual one in that indictment was a huge battle. There's no way he's getting dragged into Epstein and Maxwell grand jury presentations. So he's not a part of this, and he knows that. So even if he were to lose with the judge and this gets unsealed, he's fine. It's not implicating him. And it's not really, I think, going to implicate anybody else, because that wasn't the point of those presentations. There weren't other targets there that they were looking to indict. So the base's interest in a client list and finding out all these other people who they believe may be culpable, that's not what you would see in this transcript. So this is a red herring. This is a way for him to distract from the evidence people are actually interested in, which are the notes from interviews of these various witnesses that they looked at in this investigation. And that he doesn't need a court order to turn over. He could turn that over on his own. The fact that they haven't, that's the question people should be asking.
Lisa, do you see this as a red herring, as a distraction? I mean, do you think people will be able to understand all of what she's just laid out here, that this is just a fraction of what's out there, and that there's other information the federal government has that it sounds like we still will not see? Mm-hmm. Are people, given the way this story has gone and this fire has just continued to spread, do you think people are going to be on to what she's just laid out there?
Well, I think our viewers will, but the larger populace that is calling for the release of these files, I'm not sure that they will, because they'll see this as a sign that Donald Trump is trying to be more transparent and trying to let the information be free. But for this terrible federal judge, there's a judge in the Southern District who oversaw the Epstein case, who I know, as we sit here tonight, is maybe days away from being demonized by this White House as just another radical liberal Donald Trump hating judge who didn't want to let the administration educate the public about the Epstein files. It plays, Antonia, right into their narrative about judges and the press, as well as into Donald Trump's efforts to protect himself and inoculate himself from the growth of this story.
So I have to ask you both quickly. Senator Dick Durbin published a letter today. He said his office was told that FBI agents were instructed to flag any records in which President Trump was mentioned. Is that normal? What does that signal to the two of you?
Signals he's running the show, right? Like in the past, pre-Donald Trump, you had an attorney general who was independent and who ran investigations because they were in the best interest of the public and the people. Here, if you're looking for any mention of Donald Trump, why is that? It's clearly to protect Donald Trump, to protect his interests, not because the public may have an interest in knowing that information. And so there has been a lot of questions about this decision, this 180, where, you go from February, where there's a press conference and we're the most transparent administration in history. You go from that to now you're not getting anything. What is the reason for that? How was the decision made? We got a 2-page memo that said a whole lot of nothing, and nobody is really being clear. It was an unsigned memo. We don't know who made these decisions, and this says to me, Donald Trump is the one directing the show.
IHOP House Faves value menu. Everything's just $6. Like the breakfast faves combo. $6?
French toast breakfast, $6. $6 for all this and all that. That's a lot of breakfast for $6. Weekdays at IHOP.
New era. Nothing beats real.
Insurance rates went up again in 2024, but that means it might be a smart time to shop around for a new policy. With Credit Karma, you can shop for insurance to find the right provider for you, and you might even find policies with lower rates. Auto insurance on Credit Karma. Check it out.
Let you know something that I found out just last night. Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show in May. And yeah, I share your feelings. It's not just the end of our show, but it's the end of The Late Show on CBS. I'm not being replaced. This is all just going away.
The shocking and very sad announcement from Stephen Colbert last night that CBS is canceling The Late Show after 33 years. I've had the privilege of appearing on Colbert's program twice, and there is no one more generous or knowledgeable or astute or in sync with his massive audience when it comes to the things that actually make America great: truth, courage, humanity, democracy, and yes, comedy. He is a bright light and a beacon of truth-telling. According to the network, the decision to end the franchise, a late night institution hosted for 22 seasons by David Letterman and the last 11 by Colbert, was, quote, purely financial and, quote, not related in any way to the show's performance, content, or other matters happening at Paramount. But it does come after Paramount, CBS's parent company, agreed to pay Donald Trump $16 million to settle his lawsuit, largely viewed as frivolous, over edits to an October 60 Minutes interview with then presidential candidate Kamala Harris. And only 3 days after Colbert criticized that settlement as a, quote, big fat bribe in the midst of an $8 billion pending merger for Paramount, which needs approval from the Trump administration. Watch.
As someone who has always been a proud employee of this network, I'm offended. And I don't know if anything will ever repair my trust in this company. But just taking a stab at it, I'd say $16 million would help. Unlike the payoffs from ABC and Twitter, Paramount's settlement did not include an apology. Instead, that's good. Instead, the corporation released a statement where they said, you may take our money, but you will never take our dignity. You may, however, purchase our dignity for the low price of $16 million. We need the cash. Now, I believe this kind of complicated financial settlement with a sitting government official has a technical name in legal circles. It's big fat bribe.
Joining our coverage, NPR media correspondent David Folkenflik. Molly and the Rev are still here. David, one, were you surprised? And two, your thoughts?
Well, yet again, we have that famous Jeopardy category as shocking but not surprising. It's one of these things that really is a signal moment. It is impossible to disaggregate it from the announcement just days earlier of the settlement, which was itself for a lawsuit that all the law professors and media lawyers and executives I've spoken to over the months about has said was perhaps one of the most frivolous things they've ever read and scrutinized. It is true that late night is struggling. Colbert at the top of the heap in ratings, and is clearly, what can you say? He's just a class figure and extremely funny, whether or not you agree with his politics. Just quite a brilliant presence, and he really made that show come alive. Hard to inherit a show from somebody who created it, somebody so distinctive as David Letterman. But he found his voice when he said, it's okay for me to acknowledge my take on the politics of the moment in the Trump years, in particular. And that worked for him. It, may have alienated conservative audience for a broadcast network, but nonetheless, it really made sense for him. And I think he brought a lot of insight, wisdom, and at times empathy to issues on the public sphere and in the private personal scale as well. But that said, it fits in with a series of sequential actions that have been taken to kind of clear the decks so that Sherry Redstone, the controlling owner of CBS's parent company, Paramount Global, can sell it to Skydance, a studio that's ultimately controlled by a multi-billionaire who's one of the president's supporters.
What is likely to be learned about how much getting rid of the show or ending Colbert's program, will we ever find out if that was something either hinted or promised or part of the deal to get the merger approved?
Well, I will say that one of the parties in this who has the most interest to be circumspect about it is the one who speaks out loud the most, and that's the president himself, right? So CBS CBS had actually fought this vigorously in court with lawyers making muscular legal arguments. So reading through them in I think it was the Northern District of Texas, and seeing what they had to say. And at the same time, their parent company was desperately trying to settle this, right? And they said, listen, we didn't, as you pointed out, we didn't do an apology. We gave $16 million to what? Grease the skids, essentially, to clear the decks is what's really happening here. Everybody understands that. Trump went out there at a point in which Paramount is saying there's nothing else to this, and said, I'm going to get an equivalent amount, essentially, something like $15 to $18 million worth of public service announcements, because we're going to get them on the conservative side to do in advocacy of issues or standpoints that I think are important. And it was suggested it might be against anti-Semitism, in favor of the military, other things, but with a cast that he could embrace and that in some ways is consistent with his own agenda. Paramount disclaimed any knowledge of this. Skydance has been silent about it, but Trump wanted this to be out and known. And it's almost as though they've identified another sphere that nobody really thought about as this is politicized. Public service announcements, that's part of the liberal media too. And I think what the lesson, if you're asking for a larger theme to do, is even though you have these major corporations with tons of money behind them that fund major corporately owned news organizations, in a time like this, many of them will bend to power too. And that is, a signal question of our age. Will institutions that provide knowledge to the public through which they can absorb their world and make decisions for themselves as citizens, will they retain their independence? Or will they bend to power? We all have to make accommodations in life, and institutions do too, but this is more than an accommodation. And so the question is, was this done simply to cut losses, as CBS's parent company is suggesting and CBS is suggesting? It's hard to look at it in this spirit. Clearly, the message is not simply that they want to cut costs, but that they're conveying to an audience that's very important to them, the regulators who work for President Trump. They are seeking whatever they can do to strike and forge a peace.
Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Donald Trump is doing his best to fight his way out of the Jeffrey Epstein mess he has created for himself. Tonight, filing a lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal and News Corp and Rupert Murdoch himself for their report of his alleged birthday letter to Epstein. This while his Department of Justice scrambles to kinda appear to release some of the Epstein files in an effort, obviously, to placate his agitated MAGA base. We're going to get to the lawsuit in a minute. But first, the Department of Justice filed a motion to unseal grand jury information from both the case of late child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein and his associate, currently in federal prison, Ghislaine Maxwell. On its face, it appears to be a good thing because people want transparency. They want the files released. But there's a huge caveat here. Not only is the department going to redact identifying information about the victims, which they very well should, they are also going to redact identifying information about anyone else whose name might come up in the documents in question. Quote, the department will work with the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York to make appropriate redactions of victim-related information and other personal identifying information prior to releasing the transcripts. Obviously, all victim-related information absolutely must be redacted. But also, why redact the other personal identifying information? I mean, if you are trying to look like you're transparent, avoid looking like you're covering something up, that seems like probably not the best way to go about it. But that is not the only big revelation we got today. The top Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee, which of course oversees the FBI and the Department of Justice, now says that the Bureau agents were instructed to flag to DOJ about any Epstein records that mentioned Donald Trump. Get this is a new letter out today to Attorney General Pam Bondi from Ranking Member Dick Durbin, who writes this, quote, according to information my office received, you pressured the FBI to put approximately 1,000 personnel in its information management division on 24-hour shifts to review approximately 100,000 Epstein-related records, adding, quote, my office was told these personnel were instructed to flag any records in which President Trump was mentioned. What? And all this comes just a day after that shocking story in the Wall Street Journal about what the paper described as a, quote, bawdy birthday letter bearing Trump's signature written to Epstein back in 2003 before his first arrest. Quoting from the Journal's description, the letter bearing Trump's name, which was reviewed by the Journal, is bawdy like others in the album. It contains several lines of typewritten text framed by the outline of a naked woman, which appears to be hand-drawn with a heavy marker. A pair of small arcs denotes the woman's breasts, and the future president's signature is a squiggly Donald below her waist, mimicking pubic hair. The Journal says that inside the outline of the naked woman was an imaginary typewritten conversation between Trump and Epstein, the third person, which included this line, Donald, enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? And ended with Trump. A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. What's more, the document in question was at one point in possession of the DOJ, or at the very least, it was something reviewed by Department of Justice investigators in their prosecutions of Epstein and or his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. To be clear, Trump denies having anything to do with the letter. He is suing the Wall Street Journal over this reporting after having threatened to do so. Quoting from the paper, in an interview with the Journal on Tuesday evening, Trump denied writing the letter or drawing the picture. This is not me. This is a fake thing. It's a fake Wall Street Journal story, he said. I never wrote a picture in my life. I don't draw pictures of women, he said. It's not my language. It's not my words. Of course, Donald Trump has written many pictures in his life, like the ones you are seeing on your screen right now. In fact, people have been surfacing these pictures all day. It seems to be kind of like a thing he's into, actually. I've got to say, when the whole Epstein story first resurfaced, with the 2-page memo from the Department of Justice saying, it's done, case closed, nothing to see here, no client list, no nothing, right? My first instinct was not that there was an active cover-up of stuff about Donald Trump in the files. I thought most likely was that this administration, people around him, had very cynically hyped up the quote-unquote Epstein files to reach and mobilize a certain quadrant of voters. And then they realized they had overpromised and were going to underdeliver. And man, did they overpromise.
This is something Donald Trump has talked about. The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office. What you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information.
James Comer said yesterday that all the Epstein files are missing. Can you confirm the status of them? We still haven't heard from you.
No, the FBI, the FBI, they're reviewing. There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going through that.
But Bondi's obsession with the Epstein files wasn't just her freelancing. It's fair to assume it was coordinated with the White House, right? This is not an independent DOJ. Everything Bondi does is coordinated with the White House. The DOJ works for the White House in a way that no DOJ has ever worked for the White House since Nixon, at least. So then, and that's established, right? The question becomes, well, why did this White House abruptly shift course? Why did the DOJ come out last week and say, you know what? Nothing to see here. Why has Donald Trump been spiraling ever since? I mean, we know he and Epstein were friends for years. The writer Michael Wolff has a recording of Epstein himself saying he was Trump's closest friend for a decade. Back in 2002, he told the New York Magazine that he'd known him for 15 years. Fun guy. If we couple this with today's revelations from Senator Durbin, which are gobsmacking, that 1,000 FBI agents doing 24-hour shifts, tasked with flagging mentions of Trump in their Epstein research, and then the Wall Street Journal letter, as well as the fact that DOJ wants to redact not just victim-related stuff, but other personal identifying information. Well, I mean, at a certain point, the most plausible explanation for the facts is that there's some kind of cover-up here. The DOJ was tasked with vetting Epstein materials for mentions of the president, Donald Trump, his buddy of 15 years, who said that Jeffrey Epstein liked young women. And then subsequently, a decision was made not to release any more information on Epstein. Now, the Wall Street Journal makes clear that we don't know if this letter bearing Trump's signature, previously reviewed by the Department of Justice, was among the documents reviewed by this administration, right? That like some FBI agent was like, whoa, gosh, you got to see this, and flagged it. But if it was, and again, that seems plausible if it's in the record, it's hard not to see why they might come to the decision to just shut the whole Epstein thing down. Alex Wagner is an MSNBC senior political analyst. Lisa Rubin is an MSNBC legal correspondent, just published a new piece about Trump firing Epstein prosecutor Maureen Comey, and they join me now. Alex, let me start with you because, you know, I am so struck by this Durbin letter, partly because Dick Durbin is not a showboat. Like, this is not a guy who's like gonna go on social media and try to get attention. Like, and is also not going to commit this to writing to the Attorney General without some real information. The idea that 1,000 agents working 24 hours and told to flag stuff, that strikes me as a pretty wild.
BFD, I think, Chris, is the official term for it. 1,000 of them, and the belief somehow, I mean, this is an exercise in hubris unlike anything I've ever seen. The idea that you're going to have 1,000 agents working under the explicit order to weed out the Trump stuff, and that's not somehow going to leak, but also Trump's strategy from the beginning, right? This is a person who in 2015 at CPAC is trying to impugn the reputation of Bill Clinton by mentioning Clinton's activities on Epstein Island. Trump is obsessed with Epstein. Trump gives, curries favor with people who are also... We can only gather, Chris, that he himself is in the Epstein files. It is the self-sabotage to make these choices over the course of a decade, knowing that if he won, the chickens were going to come home to roost, knowing that if he won, the chickens were going to come home to roost, and